a day or two ago, Trump announced that the White House is trying to cut a deal with Argentina to import more Argentine Argentine beef to increase supply here in the United States. And ranchers, rather, on this front in the U.S. are like, okay, so we're importing Argentine beef now? Weren't the tariffs supposed to be about making sure that America is producing everything and onshoring this capacity? And ranchers were already hurting. The Biden administration had many flaws, but one of the strengths was Lena Khan and antitrust and Jonathan Cantor. And in late 2024, there was an article in Farm Aid talking about how the Biden administration had been fighting consolidation in the food systems. Explaining here, our food system has become more consolidated and less competitive over the past several decades. This consolidation means just a few companies control most agricultural inputs, like seeds and fertilizer, as well as how and where farmers can sell what they produce. This issue is particularly dire in the livestock industry, where 4 large meat packers, companies that slaughter, process, package, and distribute meat, control over 80% of the beef market. This consolidation has led to lower prices paid to farmers and higher prices paid by consumers. While the farmer share of the price of beef has dropped by 14% over the last 5 years, the price of beef in the supermarket has increased. So do you see what's happening there? Because of the monopoly power, this consolidation allowed to rip off both farmers and consumers on that front.
Because and Moneybags gets the benefit.
Right. And with fewer meat packers, bidding for the cattle here, that means that the ranchers with the cattle have less leverage. And the Biden administration was trying to correct that. Again, this is from 2024. President Biden has made it a priority to address competition issues. His executive order on promoting competition in the American economy included initiatives that empower USDA to stop abusive practices of meat processors and encouraged antitrust agents to focus efforts on agricultural markets in particular. Now let's smash cut to today, or at least late August. Trump revokes Biden order targeting food system consolidation. President Donald Trump has revoked a Biden-era executive order that tasked the U.S. Department of Agriculture and FTC with curbing consolidation across the food system to improve fairness and competition for farmers and consumers. So that is the underlying systemic problem here, which is the consolidation of money and the monopoly power of these meat packers.
Into J.D. Vance's pocket.
He
has a whole vested interest in consolidating farmland.
That's a great point. And so then you have the tariffs. That has been absolutely devastating for farmers and ranchers. On top of that, bailing out Argentina to the tune of, initially it was $20 billion, and then it was $40 billion because Trump's buddies are in bed with the psychotic anarcho-capitalist libertarian, definitely doesn't have sex with his sister, Javier Milei down in Argentina, and their currency has been falling apart. And to protect the business interests of his friends, he's giving away billions and billions of dollars in taxpayer money to Argentina, and then is screwing U.S. ranchers by importing beef from them while he's talking about America first. Here is Nebraska Farm Bureau President Mark McCarg, who is addressing and speaking out and saying, we're not too happy about this plan to import beef from Argentina.
Hello, ag friends. Hopefully your fall is going well. Some days you feel like you just can't catch a break in agriculture, but the cattle sector is one of the real bright spots here in the industry, and certainly in Nebraska, where we have a lot of mama cows. But unfortunately, we have an administration that thinks that they need to lower the price of beef. President Trump on Friday actually made a statement that said we should lower the price of beef, and ultimately that's lowering the price of cattle. That's not something we need to do. I just want our members to know that Nebraska Farm Bureau is adamantly opposed to anything that would artificially lower the price of beef. We have worked hard to get our cattle market where it is. It's a supply and demand issue right now. But quite frankly, we need this bright spot here in Nebraska. So I've communicated with all of our federal delegation and let them know that we are opposed to any move that would artificially lower the price of beef cattle. They have worked that up to the leadership already today. And so stay tuned as we kind of follow this story. Hopefully we can get this tamped down, but just want to make sure that you know that I'm doing everything that I can as your president of Nebraska Farm Bureau to ensure that our beef sector here in Nebraska and the country continues to thrive. Until next time.
Dan Osborne, I would imagine, is already across this kind of thing, but thinking about his candidacy for Senate in 2026, leaning into this is important. And it's not just cattle ranchers, it's not just the beef side of things. The soybean farmers are perhaps even more outraged by this, because when I mentioned that bailout to Argentina, a few days after he announced the initial $20 billion before upping it to $40 billion, Chinese importers ended up buying over 1 million metric tons of Argentine soybeans. And this was right as the harvest season in the United States began. And since I think the middle of the year, China has not imported basically zero soybeans from the United States.
I think since like April, May.
Soybeans are 14% of all U.S. agricultural exports, and China is the biggest importer. So here is this Illinois soybean farmer speaking about this to CNN in a segment from a few days ago.
John Bartman is a soybean farmer whose family has been working Illinois land since before the Civil War. Here in Marengo, a farming community where the land and sky feel endless, John sees a crisis on the horizon.
So this is 4,134. That's roughly $40,000 worth of soybeans that we have harvested. And a couple years ago, that was easily $60,000. It's what we do in this country. We export food. And we can't do that right now.
The price of soy dropped under the Trump administration, largely the result of the Trump administration's trade war with China. John's crops, diligently planted, meticulously cared for, are losing their value. Are you angry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm totally mad. There's no reason for it. This is absolute stupidity. This is a man-made crisis caused by Donald Trump. Period. Soybeans
are the largest agricultural export from the U.S. Last year, the value was more than $24 billion. China bought 52% of those soybeans. Since May, the country has placed 0 orders. Instead, China bought the bulk of its soybeans from South American countries like Brazil and Argentina.
And that Argentina piece is what I mentioned, happening right after that bailout. So, honestly, this is the kind of story that Democrats across the country, regardless even of ideology, can capitalize on here.
Well, I mean, I'm from North Dakota. I mention it all the time. When I was growing up, North Dakota had 2 senators that were in the Democratic Party and 1 representative that was a Democrat. It was completely represented federally by Democrats, and it was entirely because farming requires central planning. It has for 100+ years, and you should know that. And instead, we've had people like Bill Clinton that have sort of loosened that sort of tight connection by orienting more towards the coast, more towards professionals. But fundamentally, as Kowalski mentioned, like farmers, they can be appealed to on the capitalist sort of line, but it's the government is the big show that if you're going to keep a small farm in existence, that requires government action.
And the reason Trump got elected in the first term in many ways is because he was so critical of the trade deals that had decimated farmers. I mean, you talk about Bill Clinton, that was an argument that Trump successfully made basically in 2016 in convincing the voters and farmers like this, ranchers like this, that he would be better on that. And now it's abundantly clear what he's doing. He's immiserating the industry. And by the way, likely incentivizing further consolidation, because the more farmers, the more ranchers, the more small businesses that they that fall by the wayside because they don't have the margins of these conglomerates, the more that market share can get bought up by the donors to the Republicans and Trump's buddies. And speaking of Donald Trump, he was on Air Force One, asked about this yesterday. Farmers are upset, the reporter asks. And he says, don't worry, little girl, shut your mouth, basically.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
What do you mean by dying?
What do you mean make it sound like they're doing great? That's not the question. No. That's not the question, Mr. America First. And we should ask, why are they doing so poorly? This is from 9 months ago. I cite this a lot because Milei went on stage with Elon Musk with a chainsaw, and the implication was they're going to try to do what they did to Argentina here in the United States, this gutting of the administrative state and open corruption. On Monday, this is again from 9 months ago, the National Statistics Agency announced that Argentina had exited the severe recession, blah, 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 with GDP growing. But Milei's severe spending cuts have hit the poor hard. Statistics show that for the first half of this year, this is 2024, almost 53% of Argentina's 45 million people were living in poverty, a 2-decade high, up from 41.7% in the second half of 2023. Some 18% of people were living in extreme poverty, while more than 6 out of 10 of under 14s lived below the poverty line. So just to repeat that was over half of Argentina's 45 million people living in poverty, a 2-decade high, up 41.7% in the second half of 2023. That's why they're in trouble, Donald Trump. It's because of right-wing policies like yours.
Libertarian economics. And people might say, like, why is Argentina benefiting and not America? Neither is benefiting. This is not actually a nationalist issue. This is a class war that's being waged both on Americans and Argentinians. And the people that are benefiting in Argentina are not the manufacturing sector, which is being destroyed. Employment is collapsing in Argentina. What's benefiting is extractive industries that are interested, that foreign capitalists are interested in, like commodities like beef or mining and that sort of thing. And so so this is not helping Argentina either, but it's helping a certain class of capitalists that makes money with money and doesn't care about anything else that happens in any society.
And before we end it here, I just want to show how this is impacting the consumer a bit. I don't know if this chart is included in the archived article here from the Wall Street Journal. I put it in the Slack, a screenshot of it, which might be easier to use. But the Wall Street Journal last week had an article about the price changes for consumers in the United States. And coffee, it's okay. We don't need to put it up. Coffee just is exploding right now because of the tariffs. But ground beef continues to increase and increase and increase. In part because in terms of what we were importing, much of that was from Brazil. And Trump's trade war with Brazil is predicated on his personal anger towards the Brazilian government for and their legal system for prosecuting Jair Bolsonaro successfully and convicting him for trying to do a coup. Because, like, there's rumors right now, and I don't know if this will end up being the case, but that Trump is considering pardoning P. Diddy. And people are saying, well, why would he do this? Why would he? And who knows if he will end up doing it? But just like say he does, right?
Elite sex criminal.
Right. But it's the same thing here. Like, it's not about, he's not appealing to democracy. He's not appealing to the will of the people. He's doing this as a show of, I am pro-rapist.
Yeah.
These are my guys, the
George
rapists.
Santos.
And it's to all of our...
The crooks, these are my guys. Millet, this is my guy. This is about getting his folks out of power and showing to the rest of his movement that you can operate with impunity.
And it's to all of our detriment because places like Brazil are responding by just deepening their relationships with the people that we consider enemies, like China.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.